Hey everyone, this is Mark from Stocks and Cash. It's January 30th, 2018, and I'm here to give you a market update as well as go over my holdings and potential setups for tomorrow. So jumping right into the SPY opened down. It tried to recover, hit our breakout level, and then came back down again. So it kind of back tested, the breakout level, which was support and is now resistance. And there's room for the market to keep on coming down. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it's possible. We closed below the 8 EMA. Next target would be around the 21 EMA, which is at 278. And we could potentially come back and test this 55 EMA, which is 270. Now this pullback, is actually a healthy one. As long as this isn't some huge, bearish trend. If we pull back 5-10% or so, 10% of 286 is about 28, 29. So I'm not going to do the math on the fly. I'm not a whiz, but the point is, we could come back down, and have a little bit of a correction, and then return our bullish trend. I'm not saying that's going to happen. There's a lot of possibilities. This recent bearish action is still new. Needs to kind of play out to see where we're going to go. But I certainly wouldn't take any bullish plays or trades at this point in time. You can see the MACD is almost crossing over bearish. RSI is out of the overbought territory, and the Stokes are almost out of there as well. So certainly there's a whole lot of room on these indicators that could, come down, to get a reset before we start coming back up again. Now it's certainly possible that we could meander here, maybe come back and test the 21, and then take off again. But until we have confirmation of that, I don't think getting into, long on the market is the best idea right now. I do have one bullish setup potentially for tomorrow, but most of them are bearish setups, assuming that we sell off further tomorrow. Looking at the Qs, had kind of a doji, which settled right on the 8 EMA, so a little slightly less bearish sentiment than the SPY. But again, these two candles here, I don't want to say they're not enough for a correction or a pullback, but typically you'd like to see a little more of a pullback to get in at a better buying point. So again, come back and test the 21 EMA, maybe the 50% retracement line, somewhere in here, and then see the bullish trend resume. You can see MACD is starting to roll over. The Stokes are kind of flat, but still very overbought, and the RSI is also on the Qs, getting just out of that overbought territory. So, a doji is an indecisive indicating candle. We could kind of move anywhere from here. But again, similar to the SPY, I would not be long on the indices right now personally. That's just my perspective. I'm not saying that you want to aggressively short them either. I think we just need another day or two to kind of see where this market is going to be going. So let's take a look at my holdings here. That's not it. Sorry about that. Here we go. So, a pretty red day, unfortunately. Really, the biggest hurt was Dunkin' Donuts. Everything else was, manageable. AXP I did get out of. I'll show you why shortly. DE I'm still in, although I'm a little nervous about it. I'm not liking that trade as much as I did. Disney I closed out of that position. eBay was down a bit. IWM I closed for a similar reason to AXP. Seagate was down a bit. And then I did get into a short on Chevron, up 25% on that. So let's jump into these stocks, and then we can talk about some potential setups for tomorrow. So AXP, the reason I got out of it, yeah, it hit the 61.8 retracement level, but it closed below both the 8 and the 21 exponential moving average. Indicators are bearish. I just think there's a better time and place to get into American Express long. And honestly, that time would be right above the high of yesterday's candle. That's kind of like our resistance level that we were hitting. So if we break across that, then maybe we go higher. But I took a small loss. Didn't want to continue to risk it, so I was out on there on American Express. Disney also got out. It tried to push up higher today, kind of got rejected at this little resistance that we saw the last 2 days, and then it also closed below the 8 and the 21 EMA. Don't want to mess with that one anymore, so I am out of Disney. DE, as I said, I'm not too crazy about this trade anymore. We had a doji-ish candle close below the 8 EMA, but we still kind of have support at the 21 EMA. So, if the markets kind of recover in the next couple days, it's possible to kind of, return on the bullish trend that we've been seeing over the last few weeks. But again, it's kind of due for a pullback. It's kind of ridden that 8 EMA line for a while, and now it's finally broken below it. So, and also the MACD is bearish. Stokes are getting out of the overbought territory, and as is RSI, all pointing downward. So, not too crazy about this particular trade. I'm going to give it the morning and see what happens. Maybe a 5-minute rule, see if we pop up. But if we open kind of flat and come down, I'm not quite sure what I want to do with it. We're sitting at 168.51. The 21 EMA is 165. That's $3 that I'm not really willing to risk at this point with a potential pullback in the overall market. So gotta see what I want to do on that particular stock there. Dunkin', another pretty crummy day for Dunkin'. We opened below the high or below the close of yesterday, and closed around the same close. Around the open of yesterday's candle. We are sitting on the 21 EMA, and that's the only reason I'm still in this trade. If we break below there tomorrow, get a few candles that close below it, then I will get out. And again, just like American Express, there's other opportunities in the future to get into Dunkin', but this big gap down really hurt the trade. It was unforeseen, but hey, it is what it is. You can't really argue with price. So again, gonna sit around the 21 EMA and make a decision from there. Taking a look at eBay. eBay, I am still in. We're still above our breakout level. Not crazy about it. Earnings are actually tomorrow at the close, so I'll have to make a decision. Most likely I will not hold into earnings. I don't particularly like doing that. So, sometime around 3 or 3:30, wherever eBay is, if it hasn't broken that 8 EMA, I'll sell. If we get to the high of today's candle tomorrow, that'd be a good place to sell and get a nice little profit. So, not too worried about eBay. I don't think we're going to have a major gap down or anything like that. But I will 99% sure get out of that trade tomorrow. Taking a look at IWM. Also had a down day, closed below the 8 EMA, but still has support at the 21 EMA. I feel comfortable since it's only one call, putting my stop below the low of that candle or the 21 EMA. But MACD has crossed over bearishly. Stokes are pointing downward, as is our RSI. So there is a lot of bearish sentiment in small caps right now. So I don't want to have too much risk on. Again, right below the 21 EMA. STX was kind of down today, but it recovered nicely. Kind of closed near the close of yesterday's candle, so this still looks like a decent trade. MACD is kind of struggling a little bit to stay bullish. RSI and the Stokes are still in the overbought territory. If the overall market bounces tomorrow, then I could see this guy, having a decent day. But my stop will be at the low of today's candle. I'm not willing to risk all the way down to the 21 EMA. It's almost a $5 risk, well, $4 risk. So again, it's all about managing your risk, not taking huge losses, and letting your gains run and cutting your losses short. So Chevron had a really nice, nice on your, depending on your perspective, but a nice bearish candle today. Ugly from a bullish perspective, but the trade worked out pretty nicely for me so far. I am a little worried about this 55 EMA that could act as support, and we kind of have confluence here at the retracement level of 124.43, which isn't too far from the 124.72. So, I would think Chevron, might come down and back test these levels. So I'm most likely going to get out of Chevron. Its earnings are coming up pretty soon. It is very bearish right now in terms of its indicators, and volume was relatively strong today on this bearish move. But given that I'm already up 25% and earnings is around the corner, if we have a nice little push down, I'll probably get out of it and lock in my profit. Now let's take a look at some trade setups for tomorrow. So here's the one potential bullish setup that I saw. Alibaba had a doji candle, and you know what? To be quite honest, now that I'm looking at this again, I don't really recommend this as a bullish trade. Doji's indecision. Yes, we bounced off the 8 EMA, but we're already at target 1 here. If we weren't at target 1 and we were kind of floating around the breakout level, I might be more considering getting into this long. But yeah, you know what? I don't like this long. If you do, you could play a 5-minute candle rule and see if it gets up to our second target here, which is certainly possible. But for me, having this doji candle here and the fact we already have hit our first target, I'm not really liking that as a bullish trade anymore. So you could scratch that from your list if you're not comfortable with it. FedEx has had a really long ride up over the last few weeks. It's had a lot of stocks. We closed above the 50% retracement on this move here. I think we can push through both the 50 and the 32% retracement, the 38% retracement, and maybe get down to this 55 EMA. Again, it assumes that we have a 5-minute bearish candle and we close below the low of that 5-minute candle. So you could put your stop at the high of that 5-minute candle, buy some puts if we close below the low of that 5-minute candle, and set your target at the 55 EMA, which is 251. So I mean, that's about a $10 gain for a small potential loss. If you do get stopped out, if it kind of comes down and then bounces for some reason and knocks you out of the trade. Taking a look at Hess. Hess is similar to FedEx. It's had not quite as long of a move, but a very sharp move. If you want to look at this as a double top, and this is the neckline, we broke below the neckline and closed below it. We're sitting just above the 38% retracement. I do think we can get down to the 55 EMA at 49. We're sitting at 50.52. We could come down to 49. It's only $1. But again, if you get into the 5-minute setup, or get into a trade based on the 5-minute setup, or 5-minute rule rather, pardon me, you could ride this down to the 55 and maybe even get back to our 100% level down here at 46. So certainly some things to watch out for, and you might want to consider this support level here too, 47.85. You can see we kind of it acted as resistance, and now it could be acting as support if we get to that level. So I do think Hess is a decent trade. I think FedEx is a little bit better, but we are bearish on the indicators, so I think there is an opportunity there short on Hess. Couple more here. UPS. Oops. Very much the same story as FedEx and Hess. Now the only thing to keep in mind, and I'm going to tell you the next stock I'm going to look at is ExxonMobil. Exxon and Hess are both oil stocks. UPS and FedEx are obviously both carriers. So I don't necessarily recommend getting into both in the same sector. So what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't recommend getting into both FedEx and UPS or both Exxon and Hess. I would say either pick one or the other from both categories. So let's say get into UPS short and Hess short, so that you're kind of diversified. Because if for some reason oil spikes tomorrow and you're in Hess and Exxon short, you could get blown out of your trade quickly, and both trades. So it's up to you if you like UPS or FedEx better. I think there's more opportunity in FedEx personally, but UPS is probably a little less risky. Again, the indicators are bearish, so pay attention to the first 5-minute candle and make your decision from there. And then lastly, ExxonMobil, again, same story, closed below the 21 EMA, had a sharp move up over the last few weeks, so there's definitely the chance of retracing down to the 32% level and maybe even the 55 EMA. So just keep an eye on those trades. Lastly, let's take a look at Tesla like we always do. Tesla had a doji candle, and this pattern worries me slightly. Volume is been pretty much the same the last 3 days, so that's good in terms of potentially continuing this trend. But it's possible that this is a bullish flag potentially. I'm drawing it kind of crudely here, but we could be doing something like this and have a breakout bearish. I'm not saying that will happen. It's just a perspective. The other potential is that we kind of have a strong open tomorrow, get a 5-minute candle, close above it, and then run on up back to our first target of 360. It really, I don't know if Tesla is really dependent on the market per se, but you just want to be careful. We're kind of back at the resistance level that we broke through before, so we want to make sure we break through it again. We did yesterday break above it, and then we closed below it today. So, we certainly want to see another strong move above this breakout level. I certainly wouldn't short it right now. I don't think you have enough information to short. MACD is kind of indecisive. The Stokes are indecisive. RSI is kind of sitting here in no man's land. So, if you're already in the trade long, you could set your stop at the low of today's candle, or maybe this candle if you want to put on some more risk, and if you're expecting it to go higher. But again, that's totally up to you and your trade strategy, your trade plan. I don't have any positions in Tesla, so I'm just giving my honest opinion on what I think could happen. We do have support at the 21 EMA, and it looks like we did close above the 8 EMA, so we do have those as support as well. So Tesla, I think, is a wait and see what happens tomorrow if we get that 5-minute candle and run up, or if we have a bearish candle and run down. It'll be interesting to see. If you have any questions or comments, they're always welcome. I'd love to hear some feedback from you all. Please leave them in the comments section. Thanks, and have a great night, and good luck trading.